Day 3 of the 3CX Advanced Certification Training. Let's wait for a few more minutes until everyone's here. Welcome everyone to the day 3 of 3CX Advanced Certification Training. In today's module, we are going to cover about basic troubleshooting and security on 3CX. So in the last 2 days, we saw about how to install a 3CX on-premise or self-hosted install that from the ISO to a virtual machine. And also we saw about bridges, and all those stuffs. And yeah, so with the basic troubleshooting, I would say this is one of the main chapter that you need to focus on, because as a 3.6 expert, you need to be able to troubleshoot any issues arising within the PBX. So 3.6 has a variety of tools and resources to help you through this process. There are different like event logs, audit logs, and Also packet capture, which you can take directly from the 3CX console, so which you can see pretty much everything in a bit more detail. So all those stuffs we'll be looking into today. So basically, the 3CX dashboard is a self-help tool. So the different you would be able to like identify pretty much everything directly from the dashboard. And there is also verbose logging, event log, audit log, email, configure email notification on issues or any errors, wipe connection monitoring, packet capture, or Wireshark. So this is how a 3.6 dashboard would look like. So for example, just with the dashboard, you can see it's for a enterprise annual and the license owner. You can see the information, but it's grayed out. And so you can see it's running on version 20 update 0, the 3.6 FQDN install type, IPAV4 address, IPv6 address, daily outbound calls, inbound rules report, system extension, audit log, trunks, phones. If any of the trunks are unregistered or deregistered, you would be able to see a red mark in here. And if any of the phones are not registered, so you would be able to see the mark in red exclamation in here or a caution symbol in here. And system maintenance, you can see when was the last update and whether the auto update is enabled. Recordings, if it is reaching the threshold, chat logs, automatic backup if that is enabled, unused firmware, so if you want to clean up, you can do it, call logs, and troubleshooting wise services, logging level, restart OS, firewall checker, which we also saw during the first day of the advanced training. Capture is basically taking a packet capture directly from the 3.6, support encode, database maintenance, export system mail. So all these steps are that you would be able to see directly from the dashboard. So verbose logging, so basically default logging level will be set to low, and all log files will be cleaned after restarting the services or the PBX, and backup logs can be kept for up to 10 days. And you can set up whether you want to keep it for 1 day, 5 day, or 10 day. This logging level will be useful in scenarios of intermittent issue. So if it is an issue that you cannot replicate easily, you can run a verbose logging and keep backup log files for up to like 1 day, 5 day, or 10 day. And if you ask the customer to make note of the timestamp when the exact issue is happening, so you have the logs, you have the timestamp. Now you can, you know, like where to look for or where to start troubleshooting things. And system health, that's basically a quick overview of the critical system information. During the demo today, I'll go through each and every one of the system info, IP configuration, overview of the system, processes or servers that's running on, any connections. So I'll open each and every one of them and show you what all the things that or information that it includes. And event log, so that provides a summarized event for failed registration, RPS request, and there are 3 levels of errors that you can see, which is warning, error, and informational. If you want to filter it to like just errors, so you don't want to include informational or warning, so you can also do that. So the filter option is available on the event log. That basically shows what all the events that's currently happening. For example, if you add a handset, it's going to show RPS request for Fanville with MAC ID that for Brian Smith delivered successfully. 3.6 logs file web deleted to conserve disk space. So whatever things that's happening in the 3.6 like an event, so you would be able to see that in here. And audit log is basically something that shows who did what. So let's say you have multiple system owners or people managing a 3.6 system, and all of a sudden there was a change made and that caused an issue. If you want to check who made that change or what changes have been made, if you go to audit log, it will give you a detailed information of like this is the user and this is the change they made. They changed the username or the email on the user or things like that, or updated CLI and things like that. So, and configure notification. So this is something that might be pretty much important because or make life easier, because you don't want to log into the 3CX every 15 minutes or every hour or every day to check what's happening if there is any error. you can enable the 3CX to send notifications on certain things. So that makes things easier. And also notifications can be sent to system admins by default, and system owners, if you want that, you can enable optional. And you can also add people who are not part of the system owner or system admin, and like not part of the 3.6, but if you want to send an email to that particular email, like it might be a help desk email or your support email. So whenever there is an issue on the 3.6, it automatically sends an email to your help desk, and the ticket got assigned to an agent, and they can look into. So you can work things like that. So with the email notification, you can enable notifications for when someone dials an emergency number, trunk failover or maximum simultaneous calls reached, when license limit is reached, anti-hacking, reject request, done resolution fails, calls made to block countries, 3.6 server stop, schedule backup maintenance, trunk or SBC is down, error codes, IP blacklisted, DNS resolution, hard disk is at near capacity, which is you can specify whether it's which person needs to trigger the notification. So, and also new user extension added or new update is available voicemail. So these are all the different notifications that you can set from the 3.6. So whenever one of those happen, that's enabled, so it will automatically trigger an email to you, so you can, you know what's happening. Packet capture. This the 3.6 has a built-in packet capture utility. Windows installations require Wireshark to be installed for this to be available, but for 3.6 hosted on Linux backend, so you can download the packet capture directly. But to view the packet capture, you need a Wireshark install. But for if you're running on Windows, even for downloading it or taking a packet capture, you need Wireshark install. And I'll show you how to use the packet capture during the demo. So basically, packet capture, what it does is it pretty much gives everything that's happening on the front end, back end. Like when a call comes in, what's happening, what's RTP flows, what the message is, what's happening in the call. So pretty much everything you would be able to see a packet capture. But also you need to have certain skill sets, or you need to get trained to read the packet capture, because everything will be like SIP invites and you need to know what does what. And also the VoIP connection monitoring. So that's basically a built-in connection monitoring tool. And so basically with that, you can enable the VoIP monitoring, and it will give you the details of who's the caller, who's the callee, how long the call's been going for. And if there is any packet loss, scores basically excellent means there is no packet loss. So everything was clear. And if a customer complaining about call quality issue, so you can enable this monitoring tool basically. I'll give you a scenario. So for example, like a customer is complaining about call quality issue, and they use a headset to their 3.6 app, and then they're saying, so the other side is not, I'm not able to hear clearly, audio is crackling, and you see the VoIP monitoring tool and everything is fine, and no packet loss, and the audio on the recording, let's say, so you also enable recording and the recording is clear. So by this way, you can isolate the issue not to the 3.6, but to the headset they are using. So you can troubleshoot on the headset side of things. So that's how you can isolate things. And VoIP connection monitoring gives you an easy way of like a UI. You don't have to go to a packet capture and go through all the RTPs and how it's flowing and things like that. So rather than, you can just use the VoIP monitoring tool, and gives you a good easy representation of what's exactly happening on the call, of the quality. And also when it's enabled, so on the event log, it will also show, for example, like exit and call quality from Nicholas Paz to that particular number and voice provider data. And SIP flow diagram. So basically, this is how packet capture would look like when you open. You would be able to see what, or you can see, we'll be looking into what are all the individual SIP message and what it does and things like that in the upcoming slides. So, but basically this is how it looks like. you can see operator extension 100 is calling 101, and this is the flow, and it's completed. And you can see the invite for proxy, it's asking for authentication, and it's coming back, and then doing the proxy and all these stuff. So there are different SIP messages, so invite, acknowledgement, ringing, trying, 200 OK, and all those stuff. We'll be looking into each and every line and what it means a bit more in detail in the upcoming slide. But this is how a SIP invite would look like and how a packet capture would look like. So you need to be if learning SIP messages or learning about packet capture or getting skilled on packet captures makes life easier when you're troubleshooting issues. So you can directly request packet capture and you know what's happening and things like that. And also the packet capture, it helps debugging of audio issues. So it not only gets the SIP invites where it's from and things like that, it also holds the audio file. For example, you can basically see the RTP flows and also the recorded audios to see which side of audio is having issue and things like that, whether the 3.6 so whether the from side sending the audio is crackling or the to side receiving the audio is crackling, or where the issue is and things like that. So yeah, so these are all the different SIP messages that you will be seeing on the capture. So these are basically the SIP invites. So register message, if you see that, that's basically is used to register with 3CX. And invite, it's used to set up a call. And bye is used to terminate an already established session. And cancel is used to cancel a call that's set up in the state. And acknowledgement is used to acknowledge and complete a request or response fed. For example, if the 3.6 is, if the user is ending the call, it needs to send a bye signal to the other side. And the other side will say, yes, I acknowledged, and the message, and then the other side will also send a bye message. So that's how the acknowledgement. Subscribe is basically used for requesting statistics, and notify is to deliver statistics for an existing subscribe dialog, and refer is used for call transfer. So whenever you're provisioning a handset or provisioning a trunk, and during that time, if you take a packet capture, you might be seeing the register message, which is basically the register message that the provider or the 3.6 is sending to the provider to register the trunk or the handset. Invite is basically how everything will be initiated. So that's how, let's say user A is calling user B. So user A will be sending an invite. So on the SIP message, you'll be seeing an invite message to B. And bye, it's used to terminate, cancel is used to cancel the call, acknowledgement, and subscribe, notify, refer. So these are the more common messages or SIP messages you'll be seeing on the capture. And response codes, so there are different response codes you will be seeing. So anything that's 100 to 199 is provisional status, and 200 to 299 is success, right? And 300 to 399 is redirection, and 400 to 499 is local failure, 500 to 599 is internal error, 600 to 699 is global failure. So the last three options, so whenever you're facing an issue, you would be seeing one of those, either 400, 500, or 600s. And depending on that, you would be able to determine where it's failing. Either it's failing locally or internally, or it's an external or global issue. So yeah, so the most common things you will be seeing on the 100 ranges: 180 ringing, 183 session in progress. So basically, when user A is calling B, so you will see the invite and da da da. And when user B starts to ring, it sends to A that user B is ringing. So that's what 180 ringing is, and 183 session in progress. And 200 OK is when someone wants to acknowledge and then they want to send a OK. So for example, let's say A is sending a cancel note to B, and the 2 is sending 200 OK, I'll also cancel. So things like that. And 202 is accepted, and 302 is moved temporarily. That is also one of the more common message you might see. And 401 unauthorized, for example, if it is authentication failure. So let's say you're trying to register trunk, to the 3CX and take a packet capture, and it's not registering at all, and then you're taking a packet capture and you're seeing 401 unauthorized. So which basically mean whatever the authentication details that you entered might be wrong. So double check all the credentials, like the authentication ID, password. Make sure there are no spaces. So the 99% of the time, it's just an additional space right after the authentication ID or the password or before. And 486 busy here is when you're sending a and user A is making a call to B, and user B is on a call, and then they send a busy tone. So you see a 486 busy. 503 service available, 501 not implemented, and 600 busy everywhere, and 603 declined. So basically, these are all the more common message you might see on the packet capture or the trace. So yeah, so this is how Wireshark header would look like for a register. So basically, when you're registering a phone to a 3.6 server. So you can see on the left-hand sides, let me get that next. So you can see this is the phone and this is the 3.6 server. And on the SIP trace, you can see the phone is trying to register. And the 3.6 will say, I need an authentication detail, 407 proxy authentication required. And now, so what it does is now the phone knows, yes, I need to send the authentication details. And then it sends another register invite with the authentication details. And the 3.6 servers checking the authentication details, looking at it's correct, and then it says a 200 OK. And then there is a connection established between the phone and the 3.6 server. And if you look at the actual message, you can see on the message header, so it's happening via 192.168.9.39, and that's the branch, and Arthur Philip extension 102 on the host 192.168.9.59, which is the 3.6's IP. So basically 102 at that particular IP, which means 102 is the extension number, and that is the IP address of the 3.6. And 102 and and so the same. So the 3.6's IP, you can see sequences register and user agent, which is basically SNOM 760. So that's basically the handset, and 8.9.3.88, which is the version. So that's basically the firmware version of the handset. And it allows dialog, talk, hold, and real IPs that supported path expires content length. So basically, just with the register invite, you can see which user it is, which 3.6 it is, and what's the handset, what's the firmware version. Pretty much you can see everything directly from the SIP invite. And so the expire header gives the time after which the message will expire in seconds. So it expires in 120 seconds. If the authentication doesn't, so after this register, so there is a 120 seconds. If all these stuff doesn't happen within 120 seconds, it's going to reject that. So then it needs to like re-register. So this is an invite for how the SIP trace would look like for an actual call when it's happening. For example, so yes, so a phone and a 3.6 server. So from the previous one, you can see since it's trying to register, you're seeing the register message. But in here, it's an actual call, so it needs to initiate a connection. And for initiating a connection, it will send an invite to the 3.6 server. And 3.6 server, looking at the invite, there is no authentication details there. So it sends a proxy authentication request to the phone. And the phone says, yes, I acknowledge that information. And I'm sending you another invite with the authentication details. And now the 3.6 server accepted it. So it's sending, it started to ring on the other side, and it's saying, yes, we accepted it, and it started to try establish the connection, and it's tried, and then it started to ring. And once it's ringing, so this phone will hear the ringing tone or the ringing sound. So basically that's what this means, because as soon as it started to ring, it needs to hear the ringing tone, which basically needs to, there is a RTP flow in between, because the phone needs to hear the ringtone. So that's when the RTP flows, and it says 200 OK once the other side accepted the call. And once the other side accepted the call, RTPs from the phone will start to pass to the other side. And it's once it's acknowledged, and the phone then is ending the call. So the phone sends a buy request to the server, and once the buy request is received from the 3CX server, so it sends a 200 OK. So basically what's happening is, so the phone is so all these stuff, so the invite and RTP and till to before 200 OK, so all these are happening within a fraction of a second or a split second. So but this is what's happening in that particular split second. So it's sending an invite, the 3CX server asking for authentication, and the phone says, yes, I acknowledge, I'm sorry for that, and I'm sending you another invite with the authentication details. And the 3CX server saying, okay, now the authentication details are correct, and now I'm trying to ring the handset, and yes, it started to ring. And since it started to ring, the phone needs to know it started to ring. So the drr sound, so that's basically this RTP. So it automatically opened the RTP connection from the server to the phone, but the RTP connection from the phone to the server is not yet open, because the other side needs to answer the call. And now you can see once, as soon as it sends a 200 OK, yes, it's been answered, the phone starts to send the RTP signal to the 3CX server. They both were talking, and once it's done, so there is a buy message, which is basically the phone decided to end the call, or the user decided to end the call, and then the other side responds with the 200 OK. So that's pretty much that's what happens at the back end whenever a call is made. So do you have any questions so far? Feel free to ask any questions. This is a more important or a crucial module, and getting skills in this module makes things or makes life easier for you whenever you're troubleshooting issues. So even if it is a simple question, feel free to post it on the chat, and I'll try to answer them. And so basically the Wireshark invite, from the invite, similar to the register, you would be able to see most of the information. You can see this is the IP address, and the operator extension is extension 100, and 192.168.9.59 is the IP of the 3CX, and 100 is calling 10. So the from is 100 at that particular IP, which is the 3CX, and 2 is that particular extension on the same 3CX. So it's from here, you can see it's an internal call, extension 100 calling extension 2, and caller ID, C sequence, and contact is basically 100. And you can see 100 is the user agent. So basically that's who it's calling. And so from the difference in the allow, from here, you can see on the register, it's just all it needs is dialog, talk, and hold, nothing much it needed. But for a call, it needs to have invite, info, prag, acknowledgement, buy, cancel, options, notify, register, subscribe, refer. These are all the different messages. So basically, the phone is saying these are all the only messages I want to receive or need to see, and that's what you need to communicate with. Maximum forwards, and user agent is basically SIP T4060 running on this particular firmware, and allow event, talk, hold, conference, refer, check, and support replaces and content link. So before taking the advanced exam, so I would highly recommend to go through or understand what each and every message stands for. So I think there might be even questions like what are all the messages you will see for an invite, or what are all the SIP messages and things like that. And also like they will give you a snippet of this and say who's calling who. You can say either 100 calling 102, or user agent. That's basically where the call is originating from, because this is the invite from 100 to 200. When you see a user agent on 100 to 102, when you see a user agent there, that's basically where the invite is originated from. So that's basically Yealink T46G, da, da, da. And so, yeah, so the different headers you would be seeing is the from header, where the call originates from. So on the from header, you can see extension is the 100, and this is the IP address of the 3CX. And the to header says this is the to extension, and this is the IP address. Let's say if you are making an external call, then it might look like 100 at this particular IP at the 3CX. Calling, let's say Breeze number 61870785300 at your voice provider's IP, because it's going through the trunk. So that's what it will be showing. Contact header, so basically 100 at this particular 3.6. So that's basically shows where each point is expect to send the responses to. So this is where it's expecting the responses to. So whatever happens from 102, it needs to send the responses to here. So that's what that means. And via header, so SIP response is used on the same reverse route. So basically, the other side needs to know, so this is the route I need to take to reach to 100. And multiple via lines, you might be able to see if there are like multiple hops, for example, like a call from 136 to another through a bridge, you might see multiple via lines, and that's pretty much normal. And caller ID header, so identification of the call leg. So you can see this is the caller ID and that particular IP. And C sequence lines are used to link packets within the call leg together. And user agent header defines the SIP endpoint sending the request or responses to. So it says this is the user agent, and this is the SIP endpoint where the request or that's sending the request or responses. And proxy authorization header. So yeah, so with the register message, you can, if you remember right, or I can go back a bit. So you can see it's trying to register, it's asking for a proxy, and then it's sending the register message again with the authentication detail. But if you actually see the message, so this is what's happening. So you can see, so this is the initial invite. You can see it's sending the C sequence, contact, content type, and everything. And that's from 102, but it doesn't have any authentication detail. So what it does is, as soon as the other side responds with the 407 authentication required, so then the second invite that's sending, so you can see it adds another line. So along with the C sequence and contact, content type, it adds a proxy authentication along with the authentication detail and the password and stuff. So that's when it authenticates, and then it starts the communication. So does 3CX uses Yealink handset? Yes, it can. So any SIP handset can be used with 3CX, and Yealink, Fanbull, Snom, and there are a few other vendors that are supported handset with 3CX. And STP negotiating, so this is basically how the RTPs would flow. So, or you can see the media type or the RTPs. So it would be able to see the IP and port to send the audio traffic, media type, and codecs available. And you can see from here, so the connection information, this is the IP address, and this is the audio port the actual information is passing through. And these are the codecs that it's trying to negotiate with. So most of the time, when let's say you have a customer and that's coming back and complaining, you're having one-way audio issue. So that's basically when they say that, whenever I receive a call, say people saying that, the first thing I would check is, so what's the codec that it's sending and what's the codec it's receiving? So let's say the sender side have PCMU A722.729, or let's say the sender side has PCMU and 722, and the receiver side responds back with PCMA and 729. They both don't have a matching codec. So that's basically when you have one-way audio issue or call call quality issue, because they don't have a matching codec. They need to do the connection is established because the codecs doesn't interfere with the connection. The connection is established, but there is no audio. Then most of the cases, it will be no matching codec. So that's the first thing I would check. And yeah, so there are different filters that you can use on the packet capture. For example, if you just want to see the zip messages, all you just type a zip on the search, and then you would be able to see all the zip packet. And zip.method equal to invite. It will show you all the invite messages. And C sequence method or invites, it shows the zip or STP method, so the packet links to the invite packet. And there are also like other filters that you can do, invite, register, subscribe, notify. That's just going to show that particular messages from the capture. The reason why using filter makes things easier is, so even if you take a packet capture for a second, that will have like hundreds of lines in the capture. So using a filter, you can see what's, you can see, let's say I want to say I see an invite. So using a filter invite, so you can see just the invite messages and you can troubleshoot from there rather than going through all the 100 lines and see which messages work. And there are also like display filters are available, like identify caller ID or identify all the packets linked to a particular caller ID and things like that directly from there. And also with 3CX, you can ask for help. So 3CX, so whenever you have live issues, you can contact the Breeze support. But whenever you're reaching out to 3CX directly, if that is something that cannot be resolved by us, Breeze or Leader, and that needs to go to 3CX, you need to make sure, because they are pretty much strict with their support policy. So you need to make sure you read all your config guides and admin guides, tech guides, and after going to the forum, and it's not a known issue, and you did everything correct, you've checked the config and admin files, and only then you can reach out to 3CX. And also, like, who can reach out to 3CX? Active partners directly can reach out to 3CX. If inactive partners or customers, they can only raise a ticket. And you can raise help requests about supported IP phones, supported VoIP providers, 3CX products. If you're having third-party templates, third-party provider, or third-party or unsupported handsets, 3CX will not help. And how can you contact 3CX? Via phone or via their ticketing system. And their ticketing system can be accessed directly from the customer portal or the partner portal. In 3.6 support and troubleshooting, 3.6 will assist with supported configurations, but they will not assist with unsupported third-party software. Cool. Let's jump into a quick demo. And do you have any questions so far? So yeah, just ignore the banner. This is our test instance. Actually, I can include the banner. So you can see remote storage is not configured. That's an error that you can directly view from the dashboard itself. And from the dashboard, you can see it's enterprise annual for simultaneous call, expiry date, partner is Leader, license owner is Helper Breeze, version is version 20, update 7 alpha. This is the FQDN, install type is on-premise, as we are self-hosting it on a private cloud. So from the slide before Wireshark, PCMU, another one, does not have matching. That would cause an issue. Yes, because let's say you have, let me go to a user, test user and options, and we're not that call forwarding. Yeah, maybe 254W. And you can see this handset is set to use PCMU. Let's say I'm just using PCMU and 722 only for this user, and this user is trying to call out to another user or an external party, and that party just use PCMA, and they don't use PCMA or 722, that basically there is no matching codec. So basically, if there are no matching codec, there is no connection through which the call might flow through. So that's basically when you have like one-way audio issues and things like that. Cool. Jumping into here, you can see 0 active calls, active connections, system extensions are all good. Trunks shows an exclamation mark because we have like unregistered trunks. And custom templates there are, and that shows red. Audit logs, system extension, and audit log basically shows like who does what and things like that. Let me see if there was something in the last 7 days. Yeah, you can see I'm logged in as that particular user, and in the SIP trunk session, I've created a SIP trunk and that changed it to 368. So you can see who did what and which user and what time it was done and things like that. If I click on details, you can see this is the time, this is the user that did that from this particular IP, which section they made the modification, SIP trunks, what they changed. They changed 36A, which is basically the name of the bridge that we created 2 days ago, or sorry, yesterday. And type of change, they created it, and you can see what's the new values and data from here. And system maintenance, you can see it's up to date, auto updates enabled, storage not configured. This is why I'm seeing that banner over there at the top. Maintenance, cleanup or optimized database, voicemail, the usage, chat log enabled, and if I need to purge, automatic backups, oopsie. Backups are enabled, recordings, there are some recordings, call logs and purge, and troubleshooting. Coming to the main part. So the first one is services. Clicking on that basically will show you what are all the services that's running. And let's say 36 having issue for some reason, and then the first thing you check is the services, because from the services you can see if all the services are running, so it's not a server issue, and then you can go back and check on the other things. Because let's say there is a let's say the SIP trunk is not registering, and you're seeing the SIP server is stopped or not running. That's basically what happens. So in that scenario, you can just stop the service and start the service, or restart the services. That might fix the issue. And you can select multiple services and restart or stop the services depending on how you want to go through. And restart OS, you can do a restart directly from here. And activity logs, so that basically gives you a detailed things of what exactly is happening. But maybe I'll go to event log and then jump to active log. So event logs, so you can see it's just a warning, registration at Office 2 has failed, destination is the IP not reachable, DNS not resolving to the particular FQDN. And if I click on the load more, I can see these are all the warnings that I get. If I don't only want to see errors, I can filter and things like that. And this is refreshed every day. And also like if I want to send alerts or notification, if I click on this, I can set up the system alerts, like system CPU usage exceeds a particular point, or memory, or whichever I want to. For example, if the I don't want a notification for usage, but I want outbound network usage. If it is more than 500 half a gig, I need to send a notification or things like that. And 36 alerts, so whenever a trunk error code is detected, and stun resolution failed, trunk or XPC down, IP blacklisted, and voicemail space reached 75%, or recording disk space reached 75%. I need a notification delivery. So it's sent just to system admins by default. I also want that notification to be sent to Shailesh Kumar at Leader System, and also help at breezeconnect.com.au. So I can also do that. So that's basically all the alerts that you can set directly from here. Activity logs. So on the event log, it just shows the event, but activity log shows a bit more in detail. For example, you can see user agent SIP data. This particular MAC entry supports allowed prefix from the SIP T5, and the endpoint extension 119 has refreshed contact, and updating the device development, found to contact for AOR, And so pretty much you would be seeing caller Ali test extension 119 at breeze to testing.36 has been authenticated successfully, which is basically it established a connection and all these stuff. Is the alerts menu available in a hosted system too? If you mean a 3CX system hosted with 3CX, yes, it's available. But if you're referring to 3CX free, there are some, not everything that's available, but you can send some basic notifications depending on the department. Yes. And so, yeah, so that's on the activity log and firewall that we saw the other day, and system health. So basically, I'll close these two. Yeah. Let me open everything, or maybe I'll open one by one. So system info, you can see this is the processor, this is the storage, free disk space, and all the virtual, when it's system, it's not the 3.6, it's just the backend or the machine that's running on. So you would be able to see number of extension queues, ring groups, IVRs, and the memory that it's using, what's the operating system, and all those details you would be directly able to see in here. And IP config, so all the network setting, this is the IP, that's the gateway, and the IP address, and this is the FQDN, and that's what it's pointing to, and the IPv6, and all these stuff you would be able to see on the IP config. So the export health is basically just a normal view of what all the things that it includes. And overview, it just gives you an overview of all the storage and the usage and the servers and things like that directly from there. And processes, that's basically all the servers and everything that's running and how much it's running, and base priority, and session ID, virtual memories, and working set when it started last time, and things like that. You will be able to see these are all the services that's constantly running in the background. Is Stun still being used for 3.6 version 20? Unfortunately not. With version 20, you can either do local LAN or connection through SBC. So yeah, so Stun is no longer available in version 20, unfortunately. In connections, so these are all the connections that it's established. So these are all the active connections. It will also show the handset connection, any connection that the 3.6 established, and things like that. And remote access, that is available since the last update. That makes things a bit more easier. Let's say you have a customer, or let's say you're reaching out to Breeze and you want to give access to Breeze to check something for you. You can give them remote access for a particular day. You generate a link and you send it to the Breeze or whoever you want to, or similar to the customer. They want to test something for you, and then they want to give you access to their account. So they can just do this, generate a link, send the link to you. Basically, you can proxy as that customer or proxy as whichever user. And if you give, for example, if I generate a link from my system owner account, it's going to, the link will be basically this account on a system owner basis, and the link will expire in 24 hours time, or 3 days or 5 days, depending on whichever you pick. And request support, that basically will automatically take you to the partner portal where you can raise a ticket. And export system health, so that basically, I think it opened on the other side. It's pretty much going to export everything on the 3CX. Whenever you're raising a support case with 3.6, so they might request this information depending on the issue that you're raising with 3.6. And support info basically gives you, let me wait for it to download and open. Yeah, so 3.6 might also request for support info file, and if the 3.6 included any third-party configuration, third-party templates, or things like that, 3.6 will refuse to support that, unfortunately. And database table, extra logging, hotel module, and basically the support info. So with this, they would be able to like replicate the issue and try to replicate the issue. So support info, that is something that 3CX might will request whenever you're, oops, I clicked it again. Let me cancel that. And capture, that's the more important feature on 3CX, which makes life easier. So you can click capture and you can select all interfaces, which is basically it's going to include everything. And you can start a capture and you replicate the issue, stop the capture, and you can download the packet capture file. And if you download the support info directly from here, it will also include the packet capture along with the normal information. So what we'll do is doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a capture. It's the same 3CX. I'm selecting all, starting a capture, and I'm going to make a call from here. 61 no 0870785300. Now I'm visiting the site. Yep, so the call is established. I'm ending the call. So basically we made a call and I'm going here, clicking on stop capture, and I'm downloading the packet capture. So you can see it gave me a dump cap, and I'm going to open it. And you need to have Wireshark installed on your PC to open the packet capture. So this is how the packet capture would look like. You know, it was just a few second call, and you can see all the messages or that happened on the capture. So I think I would be able to, you can see how long the message is. That was the main reason I told you. It will be making the filters, using the filters makes life easier to look for stuff. If I just search for SIP and enter, it's going to just give the SIP invites. So in that way, so everything that SIP is only these information, so nothing else. And to view the SIP invites and such, I go to telephony and VoIP calls, and I can see from extension 100, I try to call the Breeze number, and this is basically the caller ID that it called from the Breeze guy. And since it's went through to the Breeze trunk, it uses voice.breeze connect. Let me open these two. So if I'm selecting these two, and if I play streams, it shows the audio files. So since we just before answering the call we ended, so there were no audio files are passing through, but this is where you can see the audio files. And if I click on flow sequence, that's basically, you can see all the SIP invites and such. So let me close that, and let me open it like this so that it makes it a bit more easier. And I'm minimizing this and I'm moving this like that here. And as soon as I click on the invite on the SIP message, I can see it's highlighted where the invite is in here. And from here, I can see the frame, Linux script capture, UDP, which is the I can see the source port and all those stuff. Maybe I'll do this, do that, and yeah, this will make it a bit more easier. I hope everyone can see my screen and it's a bit clear for you guys. And that's the UDP. You can see the destination port, source port, and all those stuff. And if I go to system initiation protocol, which is SIP, you can see the message header and message body. I'm clicking on the message header. I can see the same thing. So you can see, so just on that one single invite, these are all the information you can get. So maximum forward 70, that's that, and 100 is the extension, and that's the IP, and that's to the particular number at that IP, and that's extension number from caller ID, and it allows all these messages. And user agent is 3CX WebRTC proxy because I was initiating the call from the 3CX app. You might get this as a question, so you will get a snippet and say who's calling who. You can directly identify that from either from the or the user agent. And from the message body, which is the STP sensors, you can see the information like it uses the audio port 850. And this is the IP that it's our session name, and this is the IP that it's communicating, and these are all the codecs that it's using, and all these stuff directly from here. And similar to if I close this, and if I click on trying, so you can see the trying, and you will be able to see all the information on the trying part and authentication required. So you can see the initial invite. Let me. So there is no authentication. So if we look at the difference between these two invites, so on the first invite, you can see there is no authentication detail. So that's why it sent a 407 authentication required, and this side is acknowledging it. And the second invite is sending with the proxy authentication with the username and the detail that it's requesting for. And then now the other side is starting to doing 100 trying, 180 ringing, 200 OK acknowledgement. And before it even sending the RTPs, I clicked buy, which is I cancel the call or ended the call. So it sent a buy, and the other side acknowledged with 200 OK. So this is basically how a SIP message would look like. And each and every one has their different. So each and every line has a detailed response of what exactly is happening in the background. And for example, even if you pick a 200 OK, you can see this is what happening. The 200 OK is from that to this, and where it needs to send to, and all these stuff. And the user agent is 3CX, and so pretty much everything you would be able to see directly from there. And if you are trying to like troubleshoot RTPs, so if you can go to RTPs, RTP streams. So since there were no RTP flows, it's not showing in here, but that's where it shows usually. So you would be able to see how many packets are sent, which interval it's sent, and what if there is any loss per second, and all these stuff you would be able to see from there. So yeah, so that is pretty much everything on the troubleshooting side of things. Do you have any questions? Any questions so far, guys, before we jump into the next module, which is security? Yeah, the exams, the advanced exam will be a bit more tricky compared to the basic one. So there will be lots of twisted questions, and you will also get questions like you will be given a Wireshark capture or a snippet, and you need to write about what's happening, and you need to type like 50 to 100 words about it and things like that. It might be a bit tricky, but if you just practice enough, and you should be okay with it. Yeah. If there are no further questions, we can take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll jump into the next module or the last module for the advanced certification training. Where can we download this video later? Yeah, you can. These videos will be uploaded to our YouTube page on Leader Academy, so you can view those videos from there. If there are no further questions, we can jump into our next module, which is security and anti-fraud. So security is a very important issue for any business of any size. 3CX has built-in security feature, including anti-hacking, TLS certificates, and SIP authentication, and IP blacklist. So you can make use of them. So basically, there are different types of attacks and hacks that can happen are brute force attacks on the PBX or the RPSs, or DOS attacks and in DOS invite floods, or dictionary attacks or password crackers. So make sure you keep your password always complex. Don't keep 12345 or admin as the password, or call or toll fraud. So this is one of the more common issues that we face. Basically, if you're having your web client password as admin or 123456, and someone, it's easy to crack. If someone get access, they just make a bunch of international calls, and then it's going to like increase your bills and things like that. So toll fraud is one of the more common issues, and listen to wipe calls or RTP injection, RTP flood, or man in the middle. So these are all the more common attacks or hacks that can happen. So security in general. So physical security is always important if you're hosting it on-premise, and network security, firewall configuration. So more, we discussed a bit more about this in detail in the firewall configuration module. Device security is important. OS system security updates. Make sure your system is always up to date, even the operating systems, because new updates will have security patches to make sure this is even more secure. Application security, like secure password settings and things like that, and data security, like have regular backups. And yeah, some IPPBX system might come with a default password. Leaving such default password in operation would be asking for trouble. Therefore, is of crucial importance to ensure wide security by setting a strong password during the installation. And extension security, basically the SIP authentication details. It automatically generates a random 10-character alphanumeric SIP ID and password, which can be edited. So sometimes what people does is they want it to be simple so that they can make things easy for them to log in. And that in the same way, they're also making it easy to log in for the third party or the hackers. So yeah, so you need to make sure if you're changing the password, make sure it's at least complicated with alphanumeric and not a standard one, and definitely not the company name, because I've seen a few resellers. So all the authentication name or password will be the customer's name. So for example, it makes it easy for the reseller to log into the client. So they log into the 3CX and client, and just put the customer's name as the username and password that will log in. And it's pretty easy to crack for the hackers. And extension security, so make sure you have a default voicemail PIN number. It's automatically generated, and you can have up to 6 digits, and it's all automatically generated random numeric. And also with the anti-hacking feature, so if there are 3 failed attempts, so the 3CX will automatically block the voicemail inbox for up to 15 minutes. And voicemail can be configured to make outbound calls, so you need to make sure you have a PIN secure, not 1234, 123456 and things like that. And to secure further, so if you are not using, or the user is not using voicemail, just disable voicemail. And also you can increase the extension or the voicemail PIN up to 9 digits. And extension security, so disable extension for unused extension, because maybe you have a customer, one of the user on the extension might have left, and then you leave it as it is, and someone might get access to that extension and make a bunch of international calls. So that's basically something you need to make sure whenever someone leaves the organization, you need to make sure disable or delete the extension. Or disable external calls only. If the user is going to just make internal calls, disable external calls. And PIN protect and prevent extension from registering from outside local LAN, and block outbound calls for outbound calls outside office hours for people who will not be using the system outside office hours. And 2FA can be enabled on users, and you can set the authentication from Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. It's very helpful for users connecting to a public computer. And a great way to secure your PBX is to enable single sign-on that can be used either on Google or Microsoft 365 account to authenticate with the PBX. This allows the user not only reuse the same password, but it also means you can switch on two-factor authentication if you have it configured. Allowed country codes. So I've ran into some issues in the past, like where the reseller, so let's say a customer just wants to call New Zealand numbers, you can specify the 3 states to just allow New Zealand rather than allowing all. So I've seen some instances where the customer partner was a bit lazy to just allow New Zealand, and then they enabled all international calls. And what happened is the system got unauthorized access, as someone gained unauthorized access and made international calls worth of like $1,200. So that's basically something that you need to make sure whenever someone international, the rules countries are not selected by default. Only when you allow it, it will stay allowed. So so by default it's blocked. So advanced allow country code you can specify which countries calls are allowed to be made to. And you can also use the international dialing rule and match after the outbound rule formatting. Stripping must match the country code exactly to be effective. And also secure SIP. Just one second. Yeah. So secure SIP, so basically encryption of the SIP messages from and to an active extension. So the 3.6 uses TLS certificates. And configure secure SIP, so you can go to advanced secure SIP and you can upload the TLS certificate pre-configured for the 3.6 FQDNs, provision templates in the secure SIP mode manually. And you need to make sure secure SIP uses TCP port 5061 by default. So if you're using secure SIP, you need to allow 5061 on your local firewall if you're hosting on premise. And SRTP's encryption of audio streams from and to an active extension. So you can use crypto keys or must be activated on an extension and IP phone. So unless using secure SIP. And setup of SRTP's IP phones, so enable SRTPs via the web UI of those phones. So manually, you need to log into the handset UI using the IP address, and you need to enable from there. And IP blacklist. So if you go to advanced, there is an IP blacklist option when anti-hacking criteria is met. So IPs, for example, so whenever 3.6 allows you to like whitelist or blacklist IP addresses, all traffic from whitelisted IP addresses will be granted without being checked by anti-hacking feature. All traffic from the blacklisted address will be stopped immediately. And yeah, so basically, if there are multiple failed attempts, the 3.6 will automatically blacklist the IP. It might be an actual instance, but in case there might be instances where someone's trying to gain unauthorized access, and then the 3.6 will automatically blacklist, and you will send you a notification. If it is a legit connection, so you can see the IP and you can whitelist the IP. But if not, you make sure you do not remove it, and then you can keep it blacklisted. And yes, so also keep a note that 3.6 doesn't replace a firewall. Firewall will always be your first line of support or your main line of security. 3.6 just gives a bit more additional features to make it a bit more secure, but make sure you configure your firewall well and not allow open access to those 3.6 systems. And also, if you can manually blacklist or whitelist IP addresses. And this mechanism does not replace a firewall. It provides a defense mechanism to help separate traffic that is trusted And if, for example, if you want to block all traffic to your network and allow only your VoIP provider IP, you can set the VoIP provider IP and set action to allow. And you can also set a single IP or a range of IPs. And you can also give an expiration date, like a future date, like 2050, 2100, or things like that. And import or export of IPs and ranges is also possible. And global IP blacklists are IPs which are known to be malicious on multiple PBXs detected. The 3CX will automatically block those IPs across all 3CXs, and it's distributed to all the PBXs. Whitelist trusted IPs, so blacklist IPs with suspicious activity. And make sure you do that, but also blacklist don't blacklist very large IP ranges. Use firewall instead. So again, 3.6 is just giving you additional features to whitelist or blacklist IP address. Make sure you need to make sure that firewall. You need to know that firewall will always be your first line of security. And whitelist IP, do not whitelist IPs blindly. Whitelisted IPs are exempt for anti-hacking options. And console restrictions, admin console it is also possible to allow access to admin console based on IPs. You can only set certain IPs, like let's say your office IP or the customer's IP. That's the only IP the 3.6 can be accessed, or local network always allowed. So user connecting from unauthorized IP will still be able to connect to the client, but will not see the admin button at the left bottom corner on your client. So man in the middle, so basically 3.6 certificate or trusted certificate. If you use your own certificate, avoid self-signed certificate. Use certificated from a trusted CA, preferably one supported by your IP phones. So make sure you don't use any third-party or unsupported ones. And in case of a man-in-the-middle attack, user connecting will get a warning in the browser. So that's an additional feature. Supported phones will not download the config file. SPCs will not provision, and web meeting will not work in the scenario. And general security advice on your firewall: use access control list to allow only trusted IPs. Use the 3.6 tunnel whenever possible. Open 5060 only for the IPs of your providers. Open port 5019 publicly. All remote extensions connect through 3.6 tunnels. And already have a site-to-site VPN, so yes, you can use it. Traffic not exposed to the internet for remote extension over VPN. Phone provision are local extensions. Please ensure VPN devices have sufficient capacity and don't overload the VPN connection. And the 3.6 support, security is the responsibility of the system admin. So if there are any 3.6 just gives additional line of support, but that doesn't mean 3.6 is the main line of support for the security purposes. You need to make sure, as a system admin or system owner, you need to make sure everything is configured secure, or everything is secure. And you have configured your firewall to make the system more secure. So security is the responsibility of the system admin and system owner. And follow 3.6 guideline. There are lots of guidelines that's available on line for firewall and things like that. I'll show you during the demo. And you make use of all the security features that's available on the 3.6 to make it even more secure. For 3.6 hosted and 3.6 free instances, 3.6 manages or 3.6 monitor the security settings for you. But if you are hosting or self-hosting or hosting on-prem, you need to make sure everything is set right or more secure. Let's jump into a quick demo. Yep, so if you go to advanced, you would be able to see all the security options available. IP blacklist, you can add an IP. You can see PBX block for too many failed authentication, and that's expiring in 2023, 2033, single IP and things like that. If you want to add an address manually, you can still do it. Single IP address or a range of IP address. And that you can set it to block or allow, which is block is basically blacklist, and deny is basically blacklist, and allow is basically whitelist. And the expiration date you can set and then click OK. That's going to block that IP. And also you can import or export a list of IPs that you want to block. Let's say you are migrating and you have a set of IPs that you want to block, so or multiple instances, you can have a CSV file with all the IPs, and then you can import it directly rather than entering each and every one individually. And anti-hacking, you can see failed authentication protection. So basically, after 5 attempts, failed challenge request after 100, security barrier 200, when to 4,000 when it's read, and blacklist interval time. So this is the IP blacklist interval time. You can set a default one when the system automatically blacklists the IP, how long you want it to like blacklist, and that's seconds. So 315360000 seconds. And live chat request protection, maximum allowed request per IP address is 20, maximum rate duration, and automatic global IP blacklist. So make sure you enable it. That's basically when 3.6 detect malicious activity across different 3.6s, they will automatically blacklist that IP for you. So make sure you enable it all the time. Console restriction. So you can set allow access from everywhere. That's basically everywhere that you would be able to like access the 3.6. But if you allow access from specific IP, so you can set specific IPs only where you can access the 3.6. So even if it is not an IP, not the IP in range, and if you use this option, they will be able to log into the web client, but they will just act as a customer and they would not be able to do much, and the admin option will not be there. Network, so that's basically the normal network setting which IP choose. Allowed country codes. This is what I previously mentioned. So let's say if someone wants to make calls only to New Zealand, you go to Australia. Rather than clicking Australia in here, sorry, New Zealand directly from there. So if you go on the drop-down box, you can see the different states, and you can just select New Zealand and then save. So that will allow you to just select New Zealand. Removing that again. And because let's say if you click on Europe, there are different countries that's available. But if I click Europe from here, it's basically going to enable everything. So you need to make sure you don't do that. So you need to make sure you use the drop-down box and select a particular, let's say, if they want to just go make calls to France, just select France and things like that. And any international networks you want to make it to allow, like satellite calls or things like that, you can make it allow. Caller ID rules, that's normal caller ID blacklist. If you want to allow caller ID, a specific caller ID that you want to like reject, you can add a caller ID blacklist in here. SIP or SecureSIP, you can it's enabled by default, and you can upload or the supporter provides here. Codecs, it's the normal codecs that you use on the 3.6 side. Parameters, template, facts, these are all additional stuff, but the main things are IP blacklist, anti-hacking, control restriction, allowed country codes, caller ID blacklist, secure. So these are the main things that you need to focus whenever you are when you're creating a new instance. Make sure your 3.6, you're setting the 3.6 as secured as possible. And also make sure these options are available here only as an additional line of security. So the system admin or system owner is solely responsible for the system security. And these are just additional options, and the main security lies on your local firewall or wherever the machine is hosted. So yep, that is pretty much everything for today's session. Do you have any questions so far? Do you have any practice exams? Unfortunately not. But yeah, so with the 3CX certification test, it's a 30 question multiple choice questions. To pass your test, you must answer at least 25 questions correct. And there is a time limit of 60 minutes, and each test can be taken only once. And if you fail the exam, you have a 30-day cool-off period until you can reset the exam. And also, yeah, 3CX partners can certify additional staff by creating user accounts. And yeah, so only thing I would ask everyone to do is install a trial instance, because you can get a trial instance for 28 days period. So play around with all the options that we saw in here. Take your time with all, play around with all the options, set everything up, make sure you set a complete 3CX and play around with everything, set everything and see what options are available, what you can do with those options, or what are the different options or settings that you can do on the 3.6. And the troubleshooting side, so the packet capture, so just read through what are all the different messages that are there. So what are all the different codes, for example, like 600 to 699 is global failure, 500 to 599 is internal failures and things like that. So everything, make sure you read everything before sitting the exam. So once you like practice everything, 3.6 also has the tendency of twisting questions. You might just take your time with each question. Do not trash. Questions will be twisted more than the basic exam. So even if you have already attended the basic exam, you might have seen one or two questions that's twisted. So they might just change a word on the question that might change the answer completely. So read the question exactly as written or slowly if needed to be, and answer the questions correct. If does 3.6 use a software client? If so, what is the name of the software? Yes, so if you search from the Microsoft Store or the App Store, you would be able to find 3CX app, or you can use the web client or the PWA client, or you can download those apps directly from the PWA client directly from the partner portal under downloads. And link for certification. So there is no link for certification. So you would be taking that directly from your partner portal. So for example, let's say, let me log into the let's say you have your partner portal or your customer portal, and if you click on the making a bit, yeah. So if you click on the three dots, there should be a certification button. If you go there, that's where you can take the test. So you can see take the basic test now, or once you completed the basic test, you can see the advanced, and you can see the webinars, user manual, academy, and all those stuff from 3.6 directly. And the webinar will be uploaded soon, right? Yes, we'll be uploading the recording soon onto a YouTube page. No, so it's so is there a way to check which of my answers were correct or incorrect after the exam? It just gives you scores only. Yes, it just gives you the score directly. It will not give you which answer is correct or wrong, unfortunately. Can use it basic and advanced exams in the same day? Yes, you can. There is no restriction or any time limit to take the test. It's just there is a 60-minute time limit on the exam, but there is no time frame in which you need to take the test. You can sit the basic exam. Once that is completed, you can immediately sit for the advanced exam. That's not an issue at all. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. Any questions related to the advanced test or the modules that we saw in the last 2 days and today. Just feel free to ask any questions. I definitely don't have the alerts menu hosted instance. The reason why it's saying alerts on the version that I had, because it was on the update 7 beta. But if you're on a production version or anything before update 6, there should be a notification button on the event log. So from there, you would be able to like send those or set those notifications. Any other questions, guys? If there are no further questions, we can wind up the session for today. And all the best for your 3-6 exams. And I'll stay here for another 5-10 minutes in case if you have any questions. Thanks everyone for attending.